Off rip, there really isn't one. There are some very tiny ones, but I just wanted an excuse to talk about this show. Spoilers for season 1 and season 2 of Invincible, obviously. And I'm not really going to talk about comic stuff too much, so don't worry about that. I love Invincible. It is one of my favorite pieces of media to exist ever. And with the return of season 2 on Prime Video, talks have been up in the air about it. A lot of people have said that all the hype for it died and that Amazon kinda snuffed it out while the energy for it was there. I partially agree with that. I really dislike this whole model of staggered releases with batches of episodes for things instead of a week by week basis. But I don't feel like it completely threw away everything the series has going for it at the moment. This show is really good, like so good. I read everything over the course of like 2 weeks last summer after rewatching season 1. I feel like Mark is such a great main character, and in general, the world building in this universe is so immaculate. I remember seeing the end of the first episode get posted on Twitter around the time it first dropped, and I was like, alright, I gotta get on this. I did, and I never looked back. I appreciate how the story itself is slightly DBZ coded, but has its own twists that really make it its own thing. It takes a lot of the typical hero tropes and brings nuances to them like The Boys does, but not anywhere near as edgy, and in a way I prefer. And speaking of The Boys, I think it worked out perfectly that with these 2 Amazon projects, The Boys was the one that was adapted to live action, and Invincible is the animated one. The pacing of season 1? Perfect. There was maybe one episode that felt fillerish, but after reading the comics and picking up from where the season left off, it was not as fillery as I had thought. Season 2 has had some slight issues, but I don't really think it's the show's fault. For starters, season 1 of Invincible dropped when I was in high school. I am close to graduating college, and season 2 came out last November. Getting to the actual story of everything, this season started off strong. The multiversal aspects of Invincible have been some of my favorite plot lines that can be found across the entire story. Angstrom Levy, insane villain. I'm making this after episode 5, by the way. I remember being so annoyed by people criticizing this because of the multiverse craze of the last 5 years or so, but brother, these comics started being published in 03. I also love getting to all the Viltrumite stuff because that lore goes hard too. My boy Steve Harvey was on Demon Time in episode 4. Another issue, to a very small extent for me, is the animation. The first teaser for this season came out back in January of last year, and Mark and Alan were posted up at this diner looking incredible. It had me saying, if season 2 is gonna look this good, take your time. But the animation within the show itself isn't really at that level, which is a little sad, but I had to be realistic with myself. If season 2 was gonna look like that, this show would have came out in 2026 or something. There are some points where the art is definitely better than what we got in season 1, but I just hope that it continually improves as the show goes on. Finally, the biggest issue and the one I mostly find myself not liking was that hiatus between the 2 parts of this season. I miss when the norm wasn't 8 to 10 episodes every 2 or so years. Bring back the 20+ episode seasons with frequency, I beg of you. I've got no problem taking your time with projects. Look at my upload schedule. I don't like animators or creatives in general being forced into time crunches for the sake of the corporations making more bank, and I honestly would have preferred that all of season 2 had gotten pushed back to this year than a 4-ish month wait for another 4 episodes. Because a trailer for the announcement of the release date for the second half of your second season looks crazy. Amazon's out here squandering one of the few good things they've got going for them, and it's so bad they've got me using the word squander. When I say I love Invincible, I mean it. I am too excited for where the show is gonna go because of some of these moments coming up, particularly all of blue-suited Mark Grayson and a certain gauntlet-wielding individual relatively soon, because damn, I'm interested in where this season ends up going because there are a few directions with what's being set up. Steven Yeun and a lot of people involved have said that we won't have to worry about a wait as long as the one between season 1 and 2 again, which is great to hear. Something else I'm wondering is how long this series is going to go on for, because Invincible is long and we are nowhere near where things really start to turn up. I do worry about some of the things that happen closer to the end. One very specific arc that happens way later on comes to mind because I was like, why? Why do this? Why you do this, guys? Why? But depending on how things are broken up, I could easily see 6 to 8 seasons of this show. Some good stuff is on the way, especially if you're a show only. It's extremely unlikely, but if Spider-Man shows up voiced by Josh Keaton, that will be one of the biggest wins ever. You should have seen me when Spectacular Spider-Man popped up in Across the Spider-Verse. But that's enough out of me. This is a fantastic show, and if you haven't already, watch it. What's wrong with you? If you have seen it, Don't be afraid to let me know what you think of it in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, take care of yourselves, and have a good one.
You be in Miami with your family, those your brothers, ayy. When we split apart, there's still love between our mothers, ayy. No, we ain't together, but whatever, I still fuck with you. Used to get the numbers, selling flights to get them dirty blues.